Okay, I think everyone is ready. Okay, dear friends, dear venerable sister and venerable brothers, dear Dhamma friends. So we are going to have today's Dhamma talk. So please give your consent by saying sadhu sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Aparuta te sang amatassa dvara ye sotavanto pamuccantu saddhanti. So, dear venerable sister and venerable brothers, Dhamma friends, so we have come to the end of today's Dhamma, to this retreat. So we are going to have the last Dhamma talk. So since we have taken Bodhiraja Sutta as our topic for this Sutta, I am also going to revisit the Sutta and take certain facts again from the Sutta. So I am not going to touch a different topic, but going to revisit the same Sutta and trying to get some more facts so that we can develop our meditation. So as you can remember, so the Prince Bodhiraja invites Buddha to visit his newly built up home, his palace, and then Buddha visit there, and then he's asking various things, and he has kind of a wrong notion about the practice, and then Buddha is explaining that he too had that kind of a wrong notion. So there we come to a very nice dialogue between Buddha and the Brahma Sahampati, because Buddha is explaining how he enlightened and how he went through various self-mortification, and then after the enlightenment, so he was thinking to whom that I am going to teach Dhamma first. So first he thought, okay, I am going to teach Venerable Alara Kalama, who has helped me during my search of Dhamma, but he unfortunately has passed away. And then he thought about Uddakarama Putta, another teacher, but he too has passed away. Then he thought, okay, I am going to teach 5 ascetics who were helpful during my self-mortification. And then he visited them, and these 5 ascetics actually has kind of a preconceived idea, thinking that he is simply coming empty-handed, again trying to get some help from us. He couldn't achieve his goal. So they have their own kind of agreement, but as Buddha approaches, they couldn't entertain that. So ultimately one went in front and washed his feet, and another got his ball, and another one prepared a seat for him. Like that, the normal proceedings which we are doing for a visiting monk, that they have done. And then they still addressing him with avuso. That means kind of a similar way, not as a Buddha. And then Buddha refusing and telling, please don't address me like that. I am now not a typical person. So I am a Arahang, I am a Samma Sambuddha, Tathagata. So please listen to me. But they didn't have the kind of that kind of confidence, trust in the Buddha, and they are simply refusing. You can't be a Buddha because you went through the self-mortification and you couldn't achieve anything, and now you are doing kind of self-indulgence, and you are now into the luxury. Now how could in the world that enlightenment can be achieved through this self-indulgence or the luxury? And then Buddha again refusing. Tathagata is not in kind of self-indulgence. He's not into the luxury. But he's the achieved person. He's the whole enlightened person now. So please listen to me. I am going to expound Dhamma to you. So again, for the second time, they are refusing. So again, Buddha is telling, again they are refusing. For the third time, Buddha is asking a nice question. Even though I was doing that kind of rigorous practice, doing all sorts of self-mortification, did I ever tell you that I have enlightened? I have got any kind of concentration? So then these 5 ascetics kind of reflecting back, and they understood this person is not a kind of a person who is boasting. He's not kind of into show off. He's now might have achieved something, so better listen to him. So here actually we can understand kind of a characteristic that we all have. Actually, when someone trying to help us, sometimes we are not ready to listen to them. Because sometimes we think the person is not really achieved. We are underestimating that person. And sometimes we overestimating ourselves. And again, sometimes we are conceited because of our profession, because of our belongings, our caste, our country. All sorts of reasons are there for us to get conceited. So we are simply refusing to listen to others. And again, knowing this, and again the other thing, another important thing is, more than conceit, there are various other fixed views. So these fixed views also hindering ourselves to think about another option. So there's a nice Dhamma verse or rather statement telling idhameva saccang mogamanyang. So I have some kind of a fixed view, so that is the only truth. There is no any other truth. So everything else is empty. So we are not opening ourselves. So this becomes kind of a hindrance. This becomes kind of a bottleneck for further expanding ourselves, for expanding our knowledge. So this same thing happened to 5 ascetics and even to ourselves as well, time to time. So knowing these things, these difficulties, Buddha actually was reluctant or hesitant to teach others at the beginning. So that's why immediately Brahma Sahampati kind of understood that, and he came in front of Buddha and kind of inviting, please, there are people who are with less defilements, so please use your omniscient knowledge and observe the world, and then please preach Dhamma. So otherwise, these people who are really fortunate and really with less defilements also going to into really kind of a disaster. So out of compassion, please therefore teach Dhamma. So then Buddha says a nice verse, it is appearing in the Sutta, Aparuta tesang amatassa dvara ye sotavanto pamucchantu saddhang. So Buddha is telling, I have opened the door to the deathless for them who are ready to listen. So the one who are with ears, may they come with faith. So now you can see it's a kind of a poetic thing Buddha is telling. Now with all his effort, all his endeavorance, now he has opened the door to the deathless. And he's telling, okay, with the ones with ears, may they show their faith. So in considering that, so we too can think in that line where whether the Buddha's teaching still can be practiced. Is there still the door to the deathless is open? So do we need to wait till the next Buddha to appear? Is it still the present Buddha's teaching is available today? So these are certain questions that we can think in that line. Because you know that among the population, only very less people might thinking that even today, if we put this teaching into practice, that we still can gain results. So it is not kind of a majority that who is believing it. There are majority still who is believing, who are simply doing various meritorious deeds. Through that, they are kind of wishing to achieve the enlightenment in a future life. But still, we can see in a kind of a dramatic way, that Buddha is showing, Buddha is telling, so now I have opened the door to the deathless. And the ones with ears may show their faith. So again, when it comes to the meditation, we can see now there are various meditation techniques which needs a lot of preparation, a lot of cramming, a lot of understanding, referring a lot of suttas, abhidhamma, and various things. But if we consider the vipassana technique that we are practicing here, and say in Mahasi method for particularly, so that does not really require this kind of very thorough understanding about any subject. And Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw also mentioning that in his book, even there is no need of abhidhamma knowledge to practice. But he is the one who has taken part in the 6th council as the chief questioner, playing the Venerable Kassapa's role in the 1st council. And but he, as the kind of expounder of this method, he is telling there is no necessary of that kind of book knowledge. But it's a kind of a thing that we can see, we can ponder, because Mahasi Sayadaw is not someone who's lack of knowledge. He is endowed with lot of knowledge, but he is telling, okay, this teaching you can still practice without that much of knowledge. And again, if we consider Buddha's teaching, there are various suttas which are so profound, so difficult to understand, with lot of detail, and it needs lot of reference to various other books in order to understand. But if we consider the technique-wise, if we consider the methodology-wise, when Buddha is telling, okay, this is the path to practice, so the suttas are quite straightforward. For example, Mahasatipatthana Sutta. In Mahasatipatthana Sutta, Buddha is telling, okay, when in the, for example, the Iriyapata Pabbha, Buddha is telling, okay, when you are sitting, be mindful when you are sitting. So when you are walking, be mindful that you are walking. So when you are sleeping, be mindful that you are sleeping. When you are sitting, be mindful that you are sitting. So someone can question, is the kind of a omniscient Buddha can say this kind of very simple technique? So if someone else has told this, we still can question. But since the Buddha has told this, so we have no option. We have to accept it. So similarly, when it comes to the Sampajanya Pabbha, so Buddha is telling, okay, when you are looking forward, be mindful. Looking backward, be mindful. Looking sideways, be mindful. So likewise, at various junctions, at various postures, be mindful. And again, in the Anapanasati, so there is no anything that we need to remember. There is no anything that we need to cram or find kind of solve a difficult formula. Instead, it's kind of simple mindfulness. Simple mindfulness of this in-breath and out-breath. So as in the point of view of, in an academic point of view, so we can't find any kind of really difficult, complex formula here. But this method is quite straightforward. So this straightforwardness itself requires a lot of faith for us to understand it. Because our rational thinking always requires a lot of formulas, always requires a lot of conditioning, always requires a lot of facts, information. But the technique-wise, this technique does not require such thing. So that's why most respected Bhante used to say, so this technique might be more applicable, more easy for young children than the educated elderly people. Because as we grow, we are getting more and more information. We are getting to more and more fixed views. Our mind gets corrupted with so much of theory. So in the practice also, in the meditation practice also, so we are putting all that old knowledge to this. And we are trying to compare this, what we are experiencing according to those preconceived theories and knowledge. So that basically hinders our progress. So that is why most respected Bhante has to keep on telling, okay, don't put your book knowledge here. Don't think whether this is this jnana, that jnana, like that. So just simply be a beginner, simply be a commoner. So that is quite challenging for us, because nowadays we are thinking, rationally thinking, so we need certain amount of book knowledge, certain amount of complexity. If something is complex only, it can be profound. But when it comes to the Buddha's teaching, when it comes to the real practice, we need to understand it is not the complexity. It is the simplicity that is taking us to the profound knowledge. It is the simplicity, not the complexity. So, as the teaching, this particular sutta evolves, and then again Buddha is telling, okay, there are certain 3 similes occur to my mind. So, there is a log which is under the water. If someone is trying to ignite fire, so it is useless. And again, there is a log which is simply taken out, just taken out from water. Still, if someone tried, then useless. And again, there's another one that there's a log taken and it was dry. And now there's a fair chance that we can ignite fire. So, in this simile, we need to understand, in those days, there were no matchbox or lighters or any kind of these modern equipments that we have today. So, they have to simply use another rubbing stick, another dry rubbing stick, in order to kindle fire. And this is a kind of a traditional simile given for our practice as well. Because if we practice a particular week and then go home and then sleep and do various other things, and then again come to a retreat, again trying your best, and again go back and just do various other things and forget the practice, again coming to a retreat, so this is not going to work. Because we are not continuously doing the practice. So you can see you can parallelly think with the simile. The simile basically shows if we want to ignite fire through this rubbing 2 dry sticks, then it has to be done continuously. So you can't have a rest in between. So similarly in this practice also, so we need to have a continuous practice, then only we can have a considerable progress. Otherwise, it's kind of washing and then again put into mud. So that is the typical thing happen with the lay people, because they find very difficult to get, say, holiday or retreat time. And ultimately, ultimately they are coming to various places, they are going to various retreats, and they are trying to do practice as much as possible. They'll put a lot of effort, of course. But once you go home, if you are not practice, then it is going to be not giving enough results. So please understand, since this is the last day, that we need to continue our practice. You can't expect results without continuous practice. It is extremely important. Then actually I need to again revisit the Pancha Padhaniyanga, that is what Buddha has mentioned to this Prince Bodhiraja, that number 1 he says is the faith. So now in this practice also, so we need certain amount of faith, because if we think this particular method is kind of straightforward done, it is good for children, so I need a kind of a more complicated one, more something to troubled, and this is too small, and in that way too simple, then the person doesn't have enough faith. But on the other hand, if one has faith, then there's a fair chance that he's trying to put it into practice. So he's trying his best to get some results through this. So faith coming as a kind of a first requisite for this practice. So there are again faith that, as I mentioned earlier, that thinking that still if I am practicing, I can get results. So it is not that I have to wait another year to get for the next Buddha to appear, but still this Buddha Gautama's teaching is still available. It's still living. So I am simply trying it. So either if it is no way, it will be a waste. So that kind of faith, keeping some trust with the Buddha, it's a must. But it may not be kind of a avechak pasada, that means a kind of unwavering kind of faith. It may have kind of ups and downs. But as you practice, you can verify whether you are leading in the correct path. So you can see whether you are progressing, whether Buddha's teaching is still living in your heart. It is not that Buddha's teaching living available in the books, but it is living in our hearts. So unless we practice, so we can't verify whether what is appearing in the books is correct. So the next factor is mentioned in this particular sutta is the health. So of course we are very much concerned about health. That is the body health. But very less people concerned about the mental health. So they keep on thinking various things and think very harmful things mostly. And they have no attention towards their mind. So only once they come to a meditation retreat or kind of a Dhamma talk, then only they understand, okay, I have to look into my mind as well. So there is no much concern about the spiritual side. So people are simply running towards the material benefits, economic terms. So, but in the health aspect, so we better think not only the body health, but also the mental health as well. So body health is also important, and that is the more emphasis given in this sutta, in this statement, where you need to have a kind of a balanced stomach, so that the digestion system has to be very healthy. So likewise, various requirements are mentioned. So that actually available for young at the young age. So if you are really too old and if you are trying to practice at the almost very close to your death, then it's quite difficult. So that's why even I think yesterday or day before yesterday, Bhante was mentioned that it is better, even Buddha is telling, so try when you have black hair, try when you have enough energy, because this practice needs perseverance. Because sometimes the meditation does not give in as you expect. I mean, does not give any encouraging result. So you need to practice again and again without giving up. So if you give up at first chance and it is hopeless, my mind is jumping here and there, I can't practice in like that. So then you are kind of backing up. But again, when you are trying to practice, if you are getting back pain, knee pain and blah, 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 then again you are giving up, then again it attributed to this health aspect. So it is necessary to, therefore, to have a kind of a good health. Then number 3, the third aspect is asato amayavi. So it's a very interesting requirement that Buddha is telling. Asato literally means that we are not hiding our bad qualities. So this actually completely opposite to the today's commercial society. So if you consider, say, someone's CV, say what you call curriculum vitae, I don't know, there's another word. So kind of when you are putting, suppose you are putting an application to a job. So you are only highlighting your good points. You never tell anything about your bad qualities or your drawbacks or anything. So simply you are highlighting your achievements, and you are mostly we are exaggerating also. But in the practice, this asato means the person does not hide his drawbacks, his mistakes. So simply he is revealing them. And on the other hand, amayavi means he's not showing unavailable qualities. For example, now if one being cunning, or if one being with various ulterior motives, if he's simply showing, okay, I'm a really nice person, I'm just a good person, moral person, like that, so that basically hinders himself to grow, because he hasn't shown his true appearance. So Amayavi means, so some people, Mayavi means some people do that. So they simply show even things that they don't have. They show off qualities that they don't really have, they don't really possess. So this is really dangerous, because this once it comes to meditation, the teacher can't really look into your mind. So teacher doesn't have like the Buddha. The Buddha had the kind of a power that is called Asayanusaya Jnana, where he can see the hidden tendencies in another person's mind. So he knows, therefore, okay, this person has to give this particular kind of a meditation object. This person is with this kind of personality traits. So he can give the proper treatment. But unfortunately today, we don't have that kind of capacity. So we simply have to depend on the honest dialogue that the teacher and the student. So if the student is kind of showing off, if the student is simply talking too much or too high about him, then the teacher then might get misled. So therefore, it is necessary for us to be extremely honest in this meditation, and simply revealing one's own mistakes, own deficiencies, so that the teacher will properly understand our character. Then the fourth aspect is the effort, the virya. So it is basically mentioned that the uppannānaṁ kusalānaṁ dhammānaṁ anuppannānaṁ kusalānaṁ dhammānaṁ uppadāya chandam janeti vayamati viryamati, like that Buddha is mentioning. Similarly, uppannānaṁ akusalānaṁ dhammānaṁ pahanāya. So once the defilements arise, we have to put effort in order to relinquish or to get rid of those defilements, to eliminate those defilements. Similarly, we have to put a lot of effort to develop not yet developed qualities, good qualities, the kusala dhamma. So that needs enough courage, enough effort, because this is not something that we can do overnight. It needs a lot of time, because our minds are, when we start, it is filled up with so much of defilements. So if we think that we are someone like, says Venerable Sariputta or Moggallana, or someone like Bahiya Daruchiriya, then it's a big mistake. Because for example, Bahiya Daruchiriya, so he simply encountered Buddha, and Buddha preached him very short sutta. So at the end of the short sutta, he was fully enlightened. So if we think that we are in that capacity, then it's a big mistake. So we have to come down to earth and think, oh, I am just a commoner, so I don't have that much of capacity, I am just a beginner. So therefore, please, I need a lot of time, I have a lot of defilements, so I need to develop a lot of things that is necessary for this enlightenment. So if we have that kind of mentality, then we are ready for development. If we are thinking that my opening balance is fairly less, so I need to start from the scratch. So if we have that kind of attitude, we are ready to do it again and again without giving up. So this effort aspect is quite important in that, because we are not giving up, because there is no any other option. Because as Buddhists, if we are thinking it is important to understand the suffering. It is important to avoid rebirth in a lower realm. So we need to work hard. And Buddha says, if we consider the majority of people, including even the devas, Buddha is telling, not only the, say, human, if we consider the large majority after their death, they are simply going and reborn in hell realm. It is not in the as a manussa, as a human, or as a god, or even a Brahma. It is not. But the large majority will be reborn in hell realms, the lower realms. So until we sort of develop ourselves spiritually, so we are not escaping this risk. So we have this risk. So that is why we need to practice diligently, thinking that there's a fair chance if we don't develop ourselves enough. So suppose we are kind of troubled at the deathbed, if we are kind of put into a kind of a hatredful thought, so then definitely your next birth will be in a hell realm, either as an animal or as a Petha or that kind of thing. So it's really unfortunate, because as a human being, we have the opportunity to develop ourselves. So there is no any other realm than human realm that you can get this benefit. So, and that is the effort part. So effort therefore has to be continuous, and there is no any other option. So we need to again and again practice, again and again try to develop these necessary qualities and try to remove all the unwanted qualities. And the last aspect is the wisdom. So wisdom here basically talks about the Udayattagaminiya Panyaya Samannagato. So it is not a kind of a typical knowledge. And actually if we use the word knowledge, so it has various contexts. So in today's world, so many people have various types of knowledge. Some in the, say, medicine side, some in engineering side, some in economic side, some in geology side, science, various types of science. So a lot of knowledge is available. But Buddha does not mean any of these knowledges. So these knowledges are all mundane knowledges. So sometimes these mundane knowledges really hinder our growth in this spiritual path, because we give a lot of value to these mundane knowledges. And we are trying to assess our progress through these mundane knowledges. So it's a kind of a big mistake. But we have to be kind of little children. Now, if you consider little children, they don't have this kind of corrupted mind as adults. So they are very open-minded. They are with very innocent mind. So it is for them to learn this teaching, this practice, it's quite easy, because their minds are not conditioned as our minds. So wisdom here, Buddha means, it's a Udayattagamini, so kind of rising and passing away knowledge. So for that to occur, we need to have a fair amount of practice. As we practice, we are simply observing it. We can't get that knowledge by reading. So that's the beauty in this practice. So reading merely gives kind of a understanding, kind of limited understanding. But we ourselves have to practice and get this knowledge. So then it will be our own knowledge. It is not something that we are putting into words and writing essays or something like that. But it is inherent. It will be kind of a part and parcel of our heart. So it is beyond the words. So if one has that knowledge really to the high level, and you can see that Venerable Kondanya, after his enlightenment, after the Buddha's first sermon, he is the only one who got enlightenment, and his knowledge was Yankinchi Samudaya Dhammang Sabbantang Nirodha Dhammang. That's it. So there is no any other complex theory. What he understood is, so whatever is arising, it is subject to passing away. So you can see how much depth we can go in this knowledge. So if we consider from the academic point of view, it is a very, very simple thing that we all may know. Even a young child may know. But even though we know that, we are not enlightened. But to how much this knowledge has to be developed for us to have the enlightenment. So that is where we need to practice again and again to observe these phenomena again and again arising, again and again passing away. And more you see, so you are kind of getting disenchanted, the nibbida, the real kind of withdrawing from this process happens in the mind. So it happens naturally. You can't force it. You can't accelerate it. Only way to get it is through the observation of the phenomena. So that is where we start with the, say, for example, Anapanasati. We are developing mindfulness. And again, later we are going towards the kind of observing the elemental characteristics like, like stiffness, movement, that kind of characteristics we are observing. And on those very common characteristics, rather the what you call the intrinsic characteristics. Once we see their nature, then we will understand the common characteristics. That is the anicca, the impermanence, dukkha, the suffering, and the anatta, the non-self. So that it is not by contemplation. It is not by kind of reciting that aniccang or something like that. It is wrong. It is not the way. It is not kind of condition in the mind. It is not through condition in the mind. It is by repeatedly observing that these phenomena are continuously arising and passing away. And with that observation, one gets a kind of a knowledge which is beyond words. So it is beyond thinking. So it is not attached with the thinking. So it is a kind of understanding which is so deep. So therefore, that is the kind of knowledge that Buddha is telling, that ultimately one is, which is capable of eliminating the major, say, cankers, which is attaching ourselves to the samsara. So that is the knowledge that ultimately we are trying to achieve. And it is not something happening, say, in 1 day or 2 days, that we need continuous observation, and it's gradually growing. So that is related to the Pancha Padhaniyanga. So that is explained in this sutta. So we can see this sutta explaining kind of requirements that we need to have, kind of requisites that we need to have in order to fulfill our goal. So this is not the only sutta giving that kind of explanation. There are various suttas explaining that Buddha is telling, okay, you need to have these qualities if you are to thrive in the path. That's a very, in a way, short sutta. I think it is very common in Sri Lanka. If you can remember, as our ancestors in Sri Lanka, for example, they have gone really far to listen to this sutta. And it is nothing but Arya Vansa Sutta. So Arya Vansa Sutta in a way talks about the monk's life. And at the end of the monk, in that sutta, there are 4 main topics explaining in that sutta. The 4th aspect is called Bhavanaramo Bhavanarato. Pahanaramo Pahanarato. So Bhavanaramo means that this person is really like to meditate. And Bhavana Rato, he delights in meditation. And if someone has this characteristics, this property, it's a kind of coming from previous lives even. Because not everyone have this kind of attitude, that it is fortunate that we have this attitude. So therefore, if one is approached or one is inclined towards the meditation, it's a kind of a blessing. And again, Pahanaramo Pahanarato, that means one is keen on removing defilements, purifying oneself. He's not satisfied with the current situation, current state of mind. He is rather like to have a better mind, a purified mind than the present state. So therefore, he is keep on practicing in order to achieve this purified mind. So that is Pahanaramo, Pahanarato. He is keep on practicing so that the defilements will be fade away. Ultimately, no defilements at all. So this is something mentioned in this sutta. And on the other hand, there are various kind of lists given in the Maha Parinibbana Sutta. Buddha is telling, okay, monks, you need to have these qualities. If you are to develop, if you are to progress in the path, and various lists are given there. So I'll just mention a couple of them. So one is called Na Sanganika Ramo. So basically, as people, we like to have kind of among many friends. So we like to have so many friends. So if we are alone, we feel kind of abandoned, kind of cornered, something like that. But when someone start practicing, he start preferring this seclusion. So he don't go much into the society. He rather kind of separate person. He's kind of not fitting now with the large crowd. Now, if you consider a large crowd, so they are simply gossiping, then maybe drinking, like that. The large crowd is always like that. So when someone is practicing mindfulness, he understands who are the ones who really helping me in the spiritual path, who are the one dragging me towards the lower path. So we need to understand this difference. So accordingly, we need to find friends. So those friends might be less. So if one is continuously being with many people, very like to be with a crowd, so that can basically reduce your practice or rather decline your practice. So na sanganika ramo means that you are not behaving in that manner, rather you prefer seclusion. And there's another one called na bassaramo. That means he don't like to engage with idle chattering. Now you can see today, so we have various ways of communication. So in the previous days, we don't have telephones, cell phones, internet, chatting, all various things are available today. So everything encourages us to have some kind of dialogue with others. But na bassarao means one is really silent. So that's why in the retreats environment, we have to encourage people not to talk. Because this talking basically fades off, drains off what is the build-up energy. So if you are keep on talking in the retreat environment or in any other environment, but if you are a practitioner, so you are simply draining off your power. So at the beginning, at your earlier stages of meditation, so it is extremely necessary to keep silence. Then another quality mentioned in the Parinibbana Sutta is called Kalyana Mittato. So one needs to have good friends, spiritually good friends. So as yesterday most respected Bhante mentioned, so those friends do not come to you, do not coming and asking you whether you need help or something like that. They like to have seclusion, their own seclusion. So we have to be kind of humble enough to learn from them without sort of disturbing them and getting some example from them. So having that kind of Kalyana Mittas, the good friends, is a must in the path. So as you know that in one occasion that Venerable Ananda was telling to Buddha, Bhante, I feel that this path, half is like because of the Kalyana Mittas. And then Buddha is telling, oh, don't say so, Ananda, don't say so. It is not the half, it's the entirety of this path is because of the Kalyana Mittas. So you can see the best Kalyana Mitta is the Buddha. Because of him that we got the teaching. And from generation to generation it has come. So you can see how much troubles that the teaching might have gone through. How much effort that the Sangha has to put forth in order to protect the teaching which is available for today. So we need to have a great amount of gratitude towards the people who have protected this sasana to this level, for today's level. So if we have that kind of gratitude in our heart, so it means that you are kind of appreciating what the others have done. So there's another nice quality. Another interesting quality mentioned in there is na niddaramo hoti. So that many people like to have a long sleep. So mostly when you come to retreat environment, so you can see that many start nodding and drowsiness and all those things happen. And it is in a way, it's okay for very few, the first few days, because when you are coming from a very busy environment, busy life schedule, and when you are coming and sitting in a retreat and observing breath, so that's a really boring experience. So it is quite understood that you are falling to sleep. But we need to encourage ourselves, motivate ourselves to stop this sleeping. It does not mean that you have to be sleepless. You need to have enough sleep for the practice. So don't misunderstand that we have to practice 24 hours a day. So it's a mistake. So we need to give enough rest for the body. Otherwise we won't feel freshness in the mind. So we need to have that kind of enough rest. But on the other hand, we need to encourage ourselves, motivate ourselves to stop too much sleeping and start practicing. So these are certain qualities mentioned in the Maha Sutta. And rather going to various difficult suttas, I thought of mentioning about another one sutta which is very close to ourselves. So that is nothing but Karaniya Metta Sutta. Karaniya Metta Sutta is very common in the Buddhist tradition, which is one of the very popular suttas. So Karaniya Metta Sutta, even though we may be reciting, probably we might not know the content in it. Actually, Karaniyang atta kusalena yantang santang padang abhisameccha. So that means the one who is skillful, who is kind of going towards the Nibbana, Santapada means Nibbana, has to have these qualities. So there's a very nice list given in this Karaniya Metta Sutta itself. So starting with Sakko. Sakko means that be able, be skillful. So be able has a good relationship with the Saddha, because when you have Saddha, the faith, only you think, okay, I also can do this. Now in this life also I can do this. Otherwise we keep on postponing, undermining ourselves, undermining this given opportunity, and thinking that we might get a better opportunity in the future life or in the future, in this life. So who knows? We can't predict our lives. So this may be the best opportunity. This may be the last opportunity even. So we don't know. So having an opportunity to meditate is a really blessing. So not everyone having this opportunity. So it is therefore quite important to appreciate this opportunity. And again, thinking that I also can do this. Not only others. If others can do it, I also can do it. So having this kind of be able, in Sinhala we call it haki sanya. So having this kind of positive attitude is a must. Then only you kind of tempt to put it into practice. Otherwise you simply think, okay, I am not into that category. I am with less parami. So I have to do more and more merit in order to come to do this. It is not. But if you are confident, if you are having enough trust with the Buddha, and then you have to have this sakko, that means be able. You think, okay, I also can do it. Then ujucha, sujucha, both these qualities have a quite close relationship with the asato amayavi. Those coming in the panchapadhaniyanga, the 5 limbs of striving. These two qualities and that two qualities have a very close relationship. Uju suju, that means you have to be honest and you have to be upright. Then comes the suvacho, so you are ready to listen to others. You are not kind of a stubborn character, so you are very easy to tamed. So you are ready to listen to others. You are not filled with preconceived ideas. So that is the suvacha. Suvacho chassa mudu. So then another quality mentioned there is the softness. So you are not a rigid character, but you are a soft character. Anatimani, that means you are very humble. So you can see when the Buddha explaining these qualities, so these are not something that we can market. So sometimes if we show these qualities, sometimes other people might even misuse ourselves. So therefore, we need to have these qualities, we need to develop these qualities, but we have to sometimes very carefully dealing with others without showing these qualities. So I can say, for example, when I saw very first time Sayadaw Pandita, he's a very kind of a rigid person. There is no kind of a smile in his face. It's a kind of a really strong character. So someone might think, okay, whether he's a kind of enlightened person or whether he's the kind of a soft character we are talking. So one can question. So sometimes it is necessary to have this kind of rigid nature outside. So otherwise the people cannot be tamed. People won't listen if we simply always have a kind of a soft attitude. So, but still in the heart is kind of rich with this softness. So it is what it is mentioned here. So internally we have this softness. We have the compassion towards others. But sometimes we are not showing it because others might misuse it. So Mudu Anatimani. So Anatimani basically means humble. So you are not kind of conceited with high-minded, but rather you are kind of having a beginner's mind. So likewise, the list is going on and explain about 14 qualities there. So you can see that throughout various suttas, Buddha has mentioned various things which is really helpful for ourselves. So it is not necessary to catch all the suttas, but what I am trying to tell is, so if you are a kind of a lay person, so when you are chanting Karanimetta Sutta, so you can rethink whether how much of this particular quality I have developed so far. How much I am honest, how much I am straight, upright, how much I am thinking that I also can do this. So likewise, you can, when you are chanting, you can kind of do a kind of a small introspection, thinking to check how much you have developed. And again, sometimes, as yesterday also Bhante mentioned, that sometimes we are coming with result-oriented nature because we are more used to this supply-demand attitude. So we are always expecting, okay, at the end of the retreat, at least I have to get Sotapanna. At least after a couple of retreats, I have to achieve, say, Anagami or whatever thing. So this actually taking ourselves to a kind of a business approach rather than being humble, rather than being very innocent. So we are drifting from these spiritual qualities, rather we are going to economic terms. So it does not work in the spiritual path. So we need to have kind of a very beginner's mind and innocent nature, then only the humble nature, then only these qualities will have a kind of a environment, a kind of a sufficient environment, rich environment to grow. So I think other than that, I don't like to sort of keep telling many things. So Buddha has mentioned in the Dhammapada, Tumhehi kiccang atappang akkhataro tathagata patipanna pamokhanti jahaino marabandana. So Buddha is mentioning Tumhehi kiccang atappang. You yourselves have to put forth effort. You yourself have to strive. Akkhataro tathagata, the Buddhas merely show the path. Patipanna pamokhanti, the ones who are getting to this path. Patipanna pamokhanti jahaino marabandana, who is getting to this path and doing striving will be free from bondage of the Mara. So here we can understand Buddha is not a saver. Buddha is not someone can simply help in a way that coming and putting ourselves in from the Lokiya side to the Lokottara side. There is no such thing. And he simply has shown the path. The path is still available. And as in the first statement I have mentioned, so Buddha has opened the door for the deathless. So it is still open. So, and Buddha has clearly shown the path. So it is our goal, or it is our duty to put it into practice. So with that statement, I would like to sum up my Dhamma talk. And I hope that you may not stop just for at the retreat, but you need to have a kind of continuous practice and have to kind of do kind of a verification whether I am doing it the correct way, going in the correct path, and whether I have developed my faith, whether I have developed my effort, whether I have continuous effort, and whether I am improving my wisdom. So likewise, these qualities, we have to time do a kind of introspection. And then only we can verify whether I am thriving. Actually, thinking that whether I am a Sotapanna, whether I am an Arahant, it's kind of too much. But if you come to very little terms, like very basic terms, so when I am coming to retreat, how many breaths I was able to mindfully look in, and at the end of the retreat, how many breaths that I am able to look in continuously. So this kind of simplicity, if we can have in our mind, I think it is quite easy to reach our goal. So I think with that final note, I would like to wind up the Dhamma talk. So thanks for listening.